Hi guys, it's Jimmy McIntyre here. I'm excited to give you a preview of a brand new professional photography panel for Photoshop. This panel is going to be dedicated to a digital blending workflow. It should be available in the next 2 to 3 weeks. However, since this is still in the developmental stages, I'm looking for ideas. So if there's any particular process or technique that you want in a panel like this, then please let me know in the comments box below, and I'll see about adding the functionality in the panel. Now let me give you a quick preview of the panel. If we go down to the R icon here, we can see the panel itself, and it's called Raya Pro. Now the panel's designed in a logical workflow manner, so the very beginning we'll set up our workflow. These 4 tabs are all dedicated to digital blending. Then the next panel is all dedicated towards the rest of our workflow. So for example, we have color correction, we have various ways to enhance our image, we have a few contrast adjustments, and to finish we can clean off any sensor dust, we can create a nice vignette, and then we can resize and sharpen for the web. So it's all logically structured. Now if we go back to the blending screen, I can show you an example of the workflow now. If you've imported your exposures into Adobe Camera Raw or straight into Photoshop, then you'll often find that they're like this in 3 different windows. I've made it easy to layer those into one window, and I just press ×3 because I'm working with 3 exposures. And there we go. We've closed all of the windows, and now we have our 3 exposures nicely layered. Now I'm just gonna unlock the background, put the darkest exposure in the middle and the medium exposure at the bottom. So this is what it looks like. This is the brightest exposure on top, the dark exposure in the middle, and the normal exposure here. And you can see in the normal exposure we have an overexposed sky, and the foreground is a little bit dark too. So in the next part, create masks, we can create a white mask, a black mask, we can undo our action, redo our action, or we can merge all of our layers non-destructively. But now we're going to go to instant digital blending. And these are the 3 methods I use to very quickly blend my exposures for clean and natural results. And let me show you what I mean. If I just make the brightest exposure invisible and I have the darker exposure selected, I'm going to go to Apply Image and just choose Dark 1. So this is what the image looked like before, and this is what the image looks like now. That was instant digital blending for very clean results. Now, to bring some of the information back in these shadows, again I'm going to go to Raya Pro and just click on Bright 1. I've selected the brightest exposure and I choose Bright 1. I'll close the panel and just reduce the opacity of this because it's a little bit strong. And now if we Control and G and group these layers, we can see before and after. We've recovered the shadows and the highlights in just a few seconds through the Raya Pro panel. And under each button, there's an explanation showing you exactly what you need to do to use these buttons. Now I have 2 luminosity mask sections. In the first one, we have general luminosity masks. There's also a section for subtracting masks without actually having to go into the channel. You can just choose a mask and subtract it with any other masks, and everything will be done for you. In the second luminosity mask panel, we have individual luminosity masks. And here we can create individual masks and delete individual masks. And we do this because luminosity masks can often slow our workflow down. So this is a much more efficient way of using luminosity masks. And again, there's a detailed area here which tells you what each button does. And to finish blending, we can choose Group and Merge, and it will group all of the exposures and create a non-destructive merged layer. And if we go into enhancements, there are lots of different options we can choose. For example, we can create an Orton effect and just lower the opacity significantly to create a soft, dreamy feel. Or if we want, we can enhance details and just reduce the opacity. And there you go, we've enhanced details. Or if you want, we can add some warmth to the highlights and just bring down the opacity of that layer. That's before and after. So as you can see, there are many different options, and there's also a useful button called Reveal Sensor Dust. If you find you've got a lot of dirt on your lens or on your sensor, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to see, but this particular process will exaggerate that dust or the marks. I'm going to close that. And we can create a nice light vignette if we want. There's the before and after. And to finish, we can prepare the images for the web. And Essentially, this is changing the color profile to RGB, and it's also using my sharpening method and resizing method, which will leave you with very, very sharp images. So if I just press a button there and make it larger, you can see we have a very, very sharp image. Now that's just a brief outline of the Raya Pro panel. As I say, if you have any suggestions, please let me know and I'll try to add to the functionality of the panel already. So thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to releasing this panel to the general public.